All right, so returning after the weekend to this. So I've been working hard to get a walk cycle. And these are what I have that I'm confident of, these frames. And the way we test them is we can bring them onto the stage, and you can see them there. And then using the timeline, which used to be called the animation window, now it's called the timeline window. Using the storyboard view, I can make frames from layers. I need to get rid of these ones first, so I can try the new ones out. Make frames from layers, get rid of the background plate, select them all, set a timing. I'm going to do 0.2 seconds, which is nice and smooth. Run it forever, and then let's just see how that looks so far. And that looks fine. It's moving a little fast. We're about halfway through the walk cycle. So I'm going to slow it down, make it 0.5. Well, no, 0.5 is a little long. Let's make it 0.3 seconds. So basically a third of a second. You can see how the head wobbles. You get a little bit of movement. You get the eye blinking. And you get the legs pedaling back and forth. Now, what you see is after the fourth frame, you can always go by frame, you know, this leg comes across, and then they take places there. But then when it recycles back around, this leg springs all the way to the front, this leg springs all the way to the back. And so it actually looks like a smooth walk cycle if you don't look too closely. But the legs swap all of a sudden at the end of it, which is why a walk cycle is extremely painful, because you have to animate it going both directions. Now, if I want to speed it up, which I think I will in this case, instead of carefully mapping each new movement with new assets, like all of these, to a template, what I'm going to do instead is this, where I take my walk cycle and then I copy all those 4 layers, and I do that by using the timeline window options in this corner, and I say copy frames, and then I'm going to say paste frames, and I paste them after the selection, right? And now they're still all selected, these 4 frames, and I'm going to reverse them so they play in opposite order. And you'll see that makes a little bit more sense, a little bit more graceful. But he pauses right in the middle there because these 2 frames are identical. So then to make it a little smoother, I might get rid of that frame completely. And that way it ends at the same place it begins. I can get rid of that frame too. And it loops. But you can see that the gate is a little short. So that's a trick I can do. Once I think I have enough of a walk cycle, I can just invert it and play it backwards. And I think that will work, but I think I need at least one more step. So before I mess with my stage, let me throw all those away, but that's helps us see what's coming. And I go back to my assets and turn off the timeline. And these were the combined walk layers I had. This is the last one I had. Now I figure out what's next. I think I'm trying to match, let's see, where is it? Layer 3 as a template. And that leg can almost stay exactly where it is. This leg, let's see if I already have an asset. And this is the beauty of building up assets like this. Is because I might have one that already fits pretty well. Oh, I'm getting close. There we go. And then let's see about the back legs. This is the front left leg, so the one at the back. Oh no, it's just, I'm sorry. The right rear leg, this one right here. So let's see if I have one that matches up a little better. That's closer. That's closer, but the ankle needs to be turned down. So I think I'll start from here. I'll use that one just for the time being. And now for this, that one looks pretty close, except I need the ankle lifted up off the ground. Let me see. I might need to alter this one slightly too. So let me turn off the guide just for a second. Oh no, it looks like it's planted on the ground okay, so I can use that. But the other one, I need that back foot to lift off to get the smoothest possible motion if I'm going to follow this template. I don't think I have one where it's doing that. Yeah, so I'm going to use this one. Now I'll make a duplicate of it, Command J, and then I'm simply going to puppet warp it. Edit puppet warp, this copy, mark pins where I don't want it to move, and then pins where I do want it to move at the joints. And that way I can move the leg up like that, and I can pivot the foot back, just like so. Best to keep it simple. Okay, and now I have that, number 9, and I'm going to work on this one a little bit because it's so easy to do. Make a duplicate. I already have assets that are pretty close. I'm going to puppet warp it. Pin there, pin at the joints. And just plant that foot a little bit more firmly. And you can use puppet warp more like a traditional warp tool as well, as long as you're not pushing it too far, like so. All right, and then hit return. And now I don't want the head to be exactly the same as it was before. So I played with my head assets now. I only have 3 of them, but kind of playing back and forth. I'm going to move it down a little bit. Let's turn off that eye and maybe have the squinting eye go. Okay, and now let's see the body that's behind all of this. Yep, that body works fine. There's nothing jutting out or changing. So now I just turn off the guide and I have my next frame in the walk cycle. Okay, there it is. So how do I combine this frame? I go to my topmost layer that's turned on, which is going to be the squinted eye. I hold down Option and I say Layer Merge Visible. And because I'm holding down Option, it will merge it all onto its own. And I'm going to call that 11 Walk New. If you've been following the videos I've done, these are the new walk cycles once I realize my mistake. I'm needing to alternate the feet. So I have all these old walk cycles that are kind of fun, but they move more like a locomotive with both sides moving forward and back at the same time. So this is what I want. I'm going to mark it because these are the combined frames, the combined assets, the combined poses of my creature, of my puppet that I want to use. And then I can take that layer and move it over to my stage just as it is. Okay, so I'm going to select my last layer on my stage, and that's why I got out of the timeline view, so I can drag and drop, but notice that I'd have to place it by hand. So the better technique, come on, is to select it all, select that whole layer with Command A, and then copy, and then go to here, which is the same size, 1,000 pixels, so 10 by 10 inches by 100 pixels per inch, and then paste it in. And I'm not sure why it didn't take the name exactly as it should have. Let's see. Select all, copy. Let's try that again. Let's put it on top of this one. Okay, and I'm going to call this 11 walk new. And just to be safe, let me do one more. Well, let me save my stage quick. And let me do one more arrangement of this puppet. And then we should have enough to actually build a walk cycle. So this is where I am. First, I'm going to change the head. I'm going to move it, I think, back up. So not very dramatic. It just moved down a little bit and then back up. I'm going to take off the squinty eye. Turn that off. And now we're doing layer 4 as my guide for the feet position. And now this needs to move back. My front right leg, let's see if I've got something close. There we go, that's getting there. I need it planted. There we go, that's almost perfect. Yeah, I think that one will do. Okay, now the next leg, see if I have an asset that will work. Already built. That looks pretty good. And now the rear legs. This is the right rear legs, the one closest to us. Because it's still planted, I'm actually just going to make a new one. So Command J, puppet warp it, pin it. You always go from the last animation you did, and just move the joints back. That's why you really need to understand the skeletal structure. There we are. Turn that one off. And last. All right, it looks like this one's the closest. So I'm gonna make a duplicate of that and then puppet warp it, get it into place. Some of the difficulty can be finding the joints. You know, keeping them consistent, not changing things too much. And matching them to your character. My character's joints are a little different than the template I'm using. As close as I can make them, but a little different. Yeah, that looks a little awkward, so I'm going to puppet warp it again. Just that foot. That foot shouldn't be quite so long. Whoops. That's what happens when you don't pin your joints. There we go. All right. Now let's turn off the guide. The body's going to work fine. I don't see anything interfering. Go to my topmost visible layer, which is right there. And see how it looks. Yeah, it will work. And then hold down Option, Merge Visible, and this is my next in the walk cycle. So 12 walk new.